Hello and welcome to my session. My name is Dr. Kristopher J. Childs. I'm with Open Up Resources. I am the Chief Academics, Equity, and Social Justice Officer. Today, I'll be presenting on 5 keys to creating equitable mathematics classrooms. Please interact via the chat. We're going to do Q&A in real time. It's going to be an amazing session. Let's get started. All right, this is going to be an exciting session. 5 keys to creating equitable mathematics classrooms. I hope you're ready for me. I have a short amount of time. I want each and every one of you to grab the session handout. There's a QR code on the screen. If you have a device, you may want to take a picture of it, or you can go to this bit.ly. Remember, the bit.ly is case sensitive. It's also at the bottom of each and every page. And guess what? I'm interacting with you live, so guess what? I'm going to drop this in the chat throughout, but I'm going to give you a quick 15 seconds to grab the session handout. This is a Google Doc. So when you go to that link, it's going to ask you to copy it. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds of wait time, and then we're going to rock and roll during this presentation. And remember, I see some of you posting things. It is case sensitive, so make sure you're typing everything in all caps on the end of the URL so you can access the handout. Again, it's available via a Google Doc. Now, let's rock and roll. Remember, it's going to be at the bottom of the screen. We'll keep posting throughout. This is a virtual session, so there are different ways for you to engage. We have the handout, which you just accessed. If you miss accessing the handout, look at the bottom of this presentation deck. You see the URL. Type it in. The chat. I promise you, my goal is to break the chat, y'all. I want us to interact within that chat nonstop throughout this presentation. Ask questions, pose thoughts, give feedback all throughout in this chat piece. And then question and answer. We're going to have a little bit of time on the back end, but if not, we're also going to have time in real time to answer questions that you may have. And this is, a new age. We also have social media. So if you want to hit us up on social media, perfect opportunity to post some questions and do different hashtags. Now, let's get started. I want to get to know you all. This is a quick way to get to know you all. Who is in the room? In the chat, I want you to type your name, your role, and then I want you to name one inequity occurring in your educational environment. Just one. I know sometimes we get hyped, like, I'm going to put a lot. No, just give us one inequity occurring. And this is going to set us up, because if we're talking about 5 keys to creating an equitable mathematics environment, we first got to start off, what is an inequity that's possibly occurring? So I'm going to give you a moment, and then we're going to review the chat to see who is in here today. Folks from all over. Okay, give you a couple moments. You name your role, and then one inequity, and put it all in one line. All right. Great. Welcome each and every one of you to this session. Now, I like to start off my sessions with this particular image. When we talk about inequities, let's talk about the system in which we're trying to change. Everybody has seen this picture at some point. If you haven't, this is an amazing picture. And I love what the teacher at this point, could be an educator, could probably a testing administrator, is saying for everyone has to take the same exam, climb the tree. Now look at these different animals. Do all of these animals have the same features that are needed to climb that tree? Have this system being created where all of these animals can be successful? So what I like to do is reimagine this whole concept. And I'm going to push your thinking in this short time we have there as it relates to mathematics classroom, because oftentimes we're saying every child needs to get to this particular point, which I believe every child should be successful. But we also have to rethink, have we created an environment for them to be successful? If I'm asking this fish to climb a tree, is that really fair to the fish? If I'm asking the elephant to climb the tree, is that fair to the elephant? So what we need to do is start thinking from an equitable mathematics classroom. How are we redesigning this thing? How are we rethinking? How are we knocking over the tree and starting with a new framework of what does success look like? What does it mean to ensure every single child has what they need to be successful? Let's check this out. So we're going to start off with some guiding questions for today. 1, what practices increase and encourage equity in the mathematics classroom? A second guiding question: what does a thriving mathematics environment look like, feel like, and sound like? And then what can be done to engage families and communities? That last guiding question I really love, possibly because I made it, but also because guess what? These families and communities are what we're trying to impact. That is the whole purpose of mathematics. How we teach in a way that it makes sense to children, where they can go back into communities and do something with it, as opposed to just keeping it static and still in the classroom. All right, I'm gonna come back to that. Now, let's jump into, we got to do a math task. This is a math workshop. So here's a simple thing. Here's the image. I just want you in the chat to type out, what do you notice and what do you wonder? That's it. No tricks. Just look at this image, and in the chat, I want you to type out some things that you notice and you wonder. Okay. Someone saying it's possibly a globe at the top. Some saying it may be a sun. Okay. Okay. Some saying it looks like a library based upon the books. Okay. Keep coming in the chat. Okay. Someone's counting the window panes. Oh, there's a number 6 at the top of the image. Okay, cool, cool. Someone's saying there's chairs. Okay. Okay. It's a little whiteboard. Oh, great, great, great notice and wonders. Now, we're doing math. You're probably like, Chris, how are we doing math? We have to give children the opportunity to just make sense of what they're seeing in their own language, just as you are doing. Now, let's take this same activity a step further. I want you to tell a math story based on the picture. You see, we started off, just give me an image. Just talk about what's happening in the image. You can even talk about what's happening in your classroom, what's happening in your educational environment, just in general. Now we're taking it to telling a math story, and you get to craft the story. Why? It's going to be important. You'll see in a couple moments. But I'm going to be quiet for a minute and give you an opportunity to, in the chat, just tell a math story based upon the picture, whatever story you want to write. Oh, that's neat. Someone said, how many books on the bookshelf? Okay. Someone is saying, looking at the window panes. Okay. Someone is saying, oh, they're imagining if there are children in the classroom and a couple left. Great, great thinking. Great thinking. Now, what is cool about this, in the first task, where we just talked about notice and wonder, you just got to bring in your thinking. Now, tell a math story. You get to make and create your own story. These are the stepping into these keys for creating a place. But I want to first start off with this statement right here. We have to make learning meaningful. Okay? This is not even the key. I got 5 keys. This is not even the key yet. But we have to make learning meaningful. Oftentimes, when it comes to a mathematics environment, we're so focused on, I got to teach these standards. I got to turn these pages. I got to teach this test or teach for this test. And not thinking, how are we making mathematics something beyond just standards, beyond just a standardized test, beyond just using curriculum pages, but seeing it as something for children to make sense of the world. When we start to begin to make mathematics meaningful, that is how we start this whole piece of equity. That's how we increase achievement among children. So here's our first key. First, you got to define, what is classroom equity. Equity is education's favorite buzzword. Everyone, equity, equity, equity. But do you really have a working definition of what is equity in your environment? If I ask everyone in your environment, do they have the same working definition of equity? Does your classroom have a definition of equity? If you want to achieve it, we should know what it is. So I'm going to give you a moment. I told you, we're lighting up the chat. We're going to break the chat. I want you to, in the chat, describe, how do you define classroom equity in your environment? I'll give you a couple moments, but how do you define equity in your environment? Okay, some interesting things in the chat. Okay. Some don't have definitions. Okay, something to think about. I'm going to give you one in a moment. All right. But how do you define this concept of equity? Now, give you opportunity, some different ways that we're thinking through equity. I love this particular image as it relates to inequality, equity, equality, and justice. If you notice in this image in the top left-hand corner, you see what inequality looks like. You just have some children waiting, hoping something falls from the tree. Then when we get to this whole piece of equality, we say, hey, we're going to both give you the same thing to get access. Notice, one child has access, one child does not. Then from an equity lens, you give every child what they need. Then from a justice lens, you work to change the system. So when you think about the image that I showed you earlier where they knocked over the tree, that was a justice lens working to change the system. So I want to posit that to you all because it's great that we're just starting off in this session with the whole concept of equity. But I actually want to push you further to justice. But for the sake of time today, we're just going to focus on this piece of equity. Now, what we've done at Open Up Resources was develop a working definition of classroom equity. Because as we noticed, there are a lot of different ways that folks describe what is equity. But you all, as educators, we want to take it straight into the classroom of what is classroom equity. So here's a working definition of what is classroom equity. I'm going to give you a moment to read through it and unpack it, and then want to talk about it as it relates to your first key. With this definition of classroom equity, I want you in the chat, what stands out to you from this definition? What stands out to you from this working definition of what is classroom equity? Okay. Some are saying in the chat, every student. Okay. Oh, someone looked at all the different identities and they were listed within it. Okay. I love this one. Someone is saying all adults organizing the learning opportunities. Folks, when it comes to this whole concept of creating equitable classrooms, adults organizing the learning opportunities hold that key. We get to craft the environment. We get to craft that experience. What are we doing to change it to make sure every child is successful? Oftentimes, we've all been in an environment that's been doing things the same way year after year and keep getting the same results year after year. You all have a colleague, not you, but your colleagues. I'm not talking about you. You all have a colleague that's been doing the same mathematics instructional strategies for 20 years, and they haven't been effective for 20 years. And for some reason, as we get ready for this new school year, they think that same ineffective instructional strategy is going to work. And guess what? It's probably not going to work once again. But again, that's not you all. You all have new and innovative strategies. But we have colleagues that do those things. But what are we pushing folks to change? What are we doing radically different to make sure every child is successful in our environment? It starts off with key number one. First, you got to define classroom equity. The second key, you got to reflect upon who you are. All of us enter this work with varying experiences and expertise and backgrounds. But with this generation of children, we have to really think through who are we as we enter this space? What values do we bring into this space? What identities do we bring into this space? How do those things impact our instructional practices? What I would love for us to do, we're going to take a couple moments. We're in the handout. Again, if you just joined us, look at the very bottom of the screen. You're going to see the handout. In the handout, there's an interactive link for an activity that we're going to do exploring your identity markers. Within this activity, you can see in the handout, there's a PDF available. There's also as a Microsoft, there's a Google Doc available also. But with this, I want you to take a couple moments and reflect upon who you are. This is going to help you understand as you enter your space, as you instruct in your environments, how do you enter that space? How does that impact the experiences children receive? What's unique about this particular activity, we're not going to have a full amount of time to do it in this session, but you're able to download this activity and complete it fully later. But I'm going to give you a couple moments now, but I want you to do this. I want you to reflect on your identity markers. I want you to complete the handout as much as possible and just think through what feelings are going to rise. I'm going to give you, for the sake of time, I know some administrators in here like, he is going quick. I got a short amount of time, but I'm going to give you a little bit of wait time for this. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to work on this activity. Again, it's in the handout, bottom of the screen. You should see the bit.ly. And in the middle of the page, you're going to see identity markers. Click that link, and I want you to work through this. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. There's going to be a timer popping up on the screen. Got some nice music playing in the background. So we're gonna just relax and vibe for a little bit. But give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I'm gonna change my timer to 3 minutes. Okay. If you're just joining us, you see I changed the voice to go with the mood. We're working on the Exploring Identity Markers handout. Again, the handout is at the very bottom of this page. You'll see a bit.ly link, opens up a Google Doc. And as you go in there, you'll see a link in there that allows you to work on identity markers. Just giving folks a couple moments. You see the timer on the screen to just reflect upon your identity markers. How do they, what feelings are going to arise? And then we're going to do something with this in a moment. But we're just working on this second key, just, reflecting who we are. Yeah, I changed the voice. Gotta relax. Now, I know that was a short amount of time, folks, but again, you still have access to that identity marker activity by Elena Aguilar. With this particular activity, I encourage you to take time to really just think through who you are. How do you enter the space? What identities do you bring into the space, and why is that important? When children come into your environment, whose identities dominate the experience? Are they your identities? Are they the identities of the community? Are they the identities of the environment? Or do children get to be centered in this piece? All of us have identities also that we value and that we care about. Imagine as you're reflecting upon these identity markers, if I said, hey, which identity matters the most to you? Okay. I want you to look at it. Let's do this. Look at the identities. Select one that matters the most to you. Okay. Now, imagine when you walk into your educational environment, I tell you that identity you care the most about, the one that's in your heart, the one you wear on your sleeve. When you walk into the environment, when you get to the door, you have to leave that identity at the door and then come in and experience school. Imagine that for a moment. How would you feel? You take that identity that you care the most about, there's a part of who you are. You get to the school door or your educational environment door, you have to leave it and then engage in school. How I'm pretty sure that will hurt. You feel bad or you feel lost, so you figure out how am I going to assimilate. Now, think about the children under your purview. How many of them, when they get to that educational environment, that door, that threshold, they have to leave who they are to enter? That identity that they carry with them, that they care passionately about, just as you, they have to leave it. We have to work, you all, everyone, to create these inclusive environments where everyone can be their full self in a good way. Now, because I know some are like, whoa. I'm saying in a good way, y'all. I'm going on a tangent when we got a short amount of time, but it's making sure when children's identities they feel valued in our educational environments, they feel seen in our environments. We have to craft that piece. But it starts with understanding who are we, how do we enter a space. But then also, as you understand who you are, you can decenter yourself to allow others that space and opportunity. Because oftentimes, a lot of times unintentionally, we center our identities in our experiences and the things that we craft and create for mathematics experiences, not thinking through what are the identities and experiences that children bring in, how do we build upon. We'll talk about it a little bit more. But I love this identity markers activity. Take some time to truly reflect upon it. This is not for you. Let me go give it to the children. No, this is not for them. But there's another activity I can show you all. It won't be in the time today, but I can share that you can do with children to get to know them. But I want you to focus on who are you as you enter this space. We've defined classroom equity. We're now focusing on you. Let's get to our next key. Our next key is you got to improve your content and pedagogical knowledge. I'm just being, hey, we went from the defining, went for you, but this is key. This is the one I hold dear to my heart. We have to make sure we know the math. We have to make sure we know how to teach it in a manner that is conducive to the children under our purview. That is the key. We cannot sacrifice the content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge for fun, activities, technology, this new thing, Chris, this new fad, this thing. No, this is the bread and butter of our profession. As mathematics educators, it is imperative that we make sure we work to improve our content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. This is the bread and butter. This is the foundation. Then you can do all the other things. But too often, not in these classrooms of yours, but others, we see a lot of fun games and activities, but children are not being exposed to high-level mathematics. They're not being exposed to the depth of mathematics. Because we want to make sure first, do we understand this mathematics ourselves so we can employ it upon the children? So how can we do this? I'm glad you asked me. First, we got to study. I'm glad you all in this webinar session. This gives you an opportunity to improve your knowledge base, but what books are you reading? As educators, we should constantly reading, whether it's articles, whether it's books, we should constantly be just studying our craft to improve our content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. Second, got a network in the chat. Go back to the beginning of this chat and look at the different roles. Find different people that are doing the work. Oftentimes, maybe in your environment, there are not other folks that are engaging in this equity work. There are not other folks that are pushing the limits. Step outside of that environment with technology. You can reach anyone around the world and find you a network of folks who are dedicated to improving knowledge. And then, got to be willing to go the extra mile. There's no traffic out there. What are you doing to really build your knowledge base? What are you doing if it's teaching fractions to really understand how to teach fractions and where do they come from, the origin of fractions? How do we use them? How do we apply them to the real world? Spoiler alert, we're going to do a fractions task in a couple moments. But when you go that extra mile, it helps just build who you are and hone your craft. And the great thing about improving content and pedagogical knowledge, the math is the math, y'all, that sticks with you throughout your entire career. As it relates to pedagogical strategies, the goal is to just keep building, adding more to your repertoire, because children are coming in from a diversity of backgrounds, with diversity of needs. We need to understand, how do we really and truly reach every single child in our environment? So we got to study, we got to network, and most importantly, we got to be willing to go the extra mile. So let's go back to this chat. Okay, got to bring a little energy up. I see y'all I'm getting quiet in the chat on me. What is one of your go-to resources to improve your knowledge? If there's a book you want to drop in the chat, that you love to read, drop the book in the chat. If there's an organization that you're a part of, drop that in the chat. Or if you want to just say, this is something I do to go the extra mile, I want you to drop those things in chat. And yes, still going to talk about self-care. Yes, that's all important. But for right now, I got to build these minds. We got to improve our content knowledge. We got to really get good at our craft because our children deserve it. All right. What key are we on? We on key number 3. All right. Give you a couple moments. Chat is lighting up. I love it. I love it. Let's break the chat. Now, we're going to do a math task. Got one more math task. I know we're getting short on time, but here's a math task. And I promise it's going to be kind of quick, y'all. So you may have to come back to it. I want you to do 3 things. I want you to write a math story to match the equation x plus 2 1/2 equals 10. Just write a math story, okay? I want you to explain what x represents in your story, solve the equation, and be prepared to explain and show your reason, okay? Be prepared for that. But don't post in the chat your story, y'all. Trust me. Just trust me on this. Don't post in the chat, but just take a moment and write a math story, all right? This is going to be short wait time, I promise. No music because it's that short, but I'll give you a moment to write this math story. You're going to see how does this connect. All right. Now, at the very least, you should have the story or just a thought or idea. First, make sure it says 2 1/2 in your story. A lot of you converted to decimals. I know. Some of you converted to decimals. You change it to a fraction greater than 1. You did a lot of different things, but you want to keep that fraction here to make sense of fractions. That's a whole nother session. Also, for my CGI folks out there, this is a start unknown problem. Did you write your story to match the equation, or did you write a story to just match the solution? Those are 2 different stories. See the thinking that goes into that? So there's a lot of ways in the full session where we would unpack what story did we write, what was involved with it, what does X represent, and then we get to the solving part. Why is this important, Chris, in creating these equitable spaces? What does this matter, Chris? You gave us another math test. It's a math session, so we're going to do math. This matters because I could have easily, based upon the standard, just told you solve the equation. Just get an answer easily. And with technology, y'all, I'm just being real. I can type this in call this in the Siri, or I can type this in, I get an answer. What does that matter if I don't understand what is happening within it? So within this, it provides multiple entry points for a child to get engaged. First, write the story. They get to write their own story. So it's not just, do I know the algorithm, but now they can think through, what kind of story could I write? Then they get the opportunity to, what does the X represent in their story, the unknown? Then they get the opportunity to solve it. Then they get the opportunity to explain their reasoning, to have discourse with their classmates. How are we using tasks that provide all of these opportunities? Or are we so stuck on just solve, get an answer, and wondering if I'm a child and I don't even know where to start, I don't have an entry point, I'm locked out of the math. But here, I get opportunity to showcase my thinking of where I'm at. Then you as an educator can use the 5 practices for orchestrating discourse to facilitate a discussion within the classroom. One child may only say, hey, I was only able to write the equation. Let's write it on the board. Let's go. One child may say, well, my unknown was blank. Boom. One child may say, here's a part of my story. Okay. Build upon another child. Tell us some more about it. And I'm going to facilitate a discussion. Then I'm going to get to the solution. But the beauty of the mathematics is that problem-solving process to go along with it. This is not a key. I didn't have enough time for all my keys, but this is like, we can say a bonus key. Are we using tasks with multiple entry points to allow every child an opportunity to engage? Not even a key. It's like we call it a bonus key. So in your notes, put a B. Dr. Childs gave us a bonus key. But this is the key I really want to give you, key number 4. Think into this task. This really takes a step to this key number 4. What are you doing to authentically get to know the children under your purview and incorporate their lived experiences in your environment? Think back to that task you just had. I'm coming back to the key. How many of you thought about it from a cultural lens? How many of you, when you wrote a story, you thought about the children in your environment and how do you incorporate their lives and lived experiences into this? Or do we so many times in these classroom environments focus on these abstract things and say the kids don't understand the math. They just don't get it. It's all about, are we putting it in a language that's applicable to their lives? What do you mean, Chris? I'm glad you asked. When you go to a school environment in the morning, what are kids doing? Talking and playing. When you go into the cafeteria, what are they doing? Talking and playing. If you're at the elementary level and you go on recess, what are they doing? Talking and playing, engaging. That's discourse. So they can communicate, they can engage in discourse, they can have fun. But in the mathematics classroom, why is that not translating? Because oftentimes, are we putting it in their language? Or is it so static and abstract that it's hard for anyone? They have to imagine themselves within it. Also, another one, I get this a lot with Chris, that's a challenging problem. They got to think through it. In this generation, they're on social media devices, they're on social media apps, they're using different tablet devices. A lot of you are one-to-one with technology. And how many times have you all seen a handbook for an iPad? Think about that for a minute. There are young children, not even in school yet, using tablets, and they've never read the directions. There are children probably right now if you're in school this time of year, making TikToks in the hallways probably right now. TikToks are app, y'all. I know, just Google that one. TikToks are app. But they've never read the manual, but they're making TikTok videos. They're making YouTube videos. They're doing all of these amazing things. They're building things, and they've never read a book as it relates to a handbook for that device. So if they can unlock and do these things without a book, without a curriculum, I've never seen a TikTok curriculum. We have to rethink how we're exposing them to mathematics in a way that's meaningful to them, and they can see that it applies to the world outside of them, outside of the classroom. And it starts with this: how are you getting to know them? How we're incorporating that into the mathematics. That's a way to engage them. That's a way to make mathematics exciting. So here are some ways that you can authentically get to know them. First, you got to ask them questions. Get to know them. Figure out who they are. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? The second, connect with their families. Do you know their families? Do you talk to their families? Do you really get to engage with them? When I taught high school mathematics, and when I teach in high school, imagine we had multiple periods, okay? So it was a lot of children under my purview. And with that, I made it a point every year in the first week of school to call every single family and just say, hey, I was Mr. Childs at the time. I thought, hey, I'm Mr. Childs. I'm your child's instructor. Pleasure to have them in class. And that developed a rapport with the families. I had high open house rates. At the high school, they used to come to open house. I can make a phone call, ask questions. They would ask questions of me. And that truly increased engagement because the families knew I truly cared about their child as they're in my environment. Take time to connect with them, get to know them. And then this is important to me: respect and value their identities. All of you, remember that earlier activity, have identities that you value. Make sure we're doing the same thing of valuing our children's identities. That's a part of who they are. They just want to be seen. They just want to feel a part of the environment, just like you want to be seen and feel a part of your environment when you walk into there. All right, key number 5. Let's start wrapping up. I'm looking at time. I'm seeing the red light come on. Like, all right, wrap it, Chris. I got it. Be unapologetic when advocating on behalf of children. Unapologetic. No child wakes up or is born and says, I want to go to this school, in this environment, live in this community, and have this set of teachers. You don't get that choice. So with that being said, we need to make sure an environment, regardless of zip code, provides every child a high quality educational experience. A zip code should not determine the quality of education. A zip code should not determine the quality of the education. A zip code should not determine what happens in my classroom. What are you doing to unlock your classroom where children are engaging in different AI technology, engaging in problem-based learning, they're engaging in seeing mathematics as a way to improve their lives and change their community? But we have to be unapologetic in advocating for them. We're the adults doing what? Organizing learning opportunities. Sorry, I brought that back. That's key number 5. You got to be unapologetic for this whole concept of equity. You got to be unapologetic. No matter what environment you're in, you got to be unapologetic for it. We cannot, regardless of what is happening in the political landscape, let go of this piece called equity. Our children deserve better, and it's our job as educators to make sure they get better. Let's do a quick recap. The 5 keys. First, make sure you define what is classroom equity. Second, reflect upon who you are. How do you enter this space? How does your identities craft the experiences children receive? What are some things you may need to do to decenter some of the things you love and care about to make sure every child seems valued, they're seen and valued? You got to become a lifelong learner. Hey, folks, we got to keep getting better. We cannot year after year rely on the strategies of the past. We got to keep getting better, improving our content knowledge. Make sure you're taking time to get to know the children under your purview and being unapologetic. You're probably like, Chris, this entire time you kept calling them children, but Chris, I teach at high school. I teach at the university. I teach here. All of them are children, y'all. All of them. They got their whole life to be adults. They're children. I tried my hardest. And again, sometimes I slip up, not to use the word students because it is so formal. But they're someone's child. They're someone's pride and joy. When they're at the elementary level, they're children. When they're at the middle school level, they're children. When they're at the high school level, they're children. When they're at the junior high, let me go back one, they're children. When they're in college, they're still children, y'all. And I've had the opportunity to instruct at all levels. They're still children. So this is one of the terms I use to just humanize who they are, what they bring into the space. They're children. So that's why you heard me throughout the presentation call them children. And some are probably like, he's just talking to elementary. No, I'm talking to all levels because I guarantee you when I worked at university, those freshmen, even those seniors, they were still children. It's just like when I was working at the pre-K level, they're still children. So we have to look through them through that lens. They have their whole lives to be adults and getting rid of this whole formula. They're students with ID. They're children. What are we doing to make sure they have an equitable mathematics experience? That starts with us. So here's last thing you're going to do in the chat. No, 2 more things you're going to do in the chat. I love this book by Gary Keller. It's called The One Thing. I've given you a lot. I've given you 5 keys. That's still a lot. But as we embark upon another school year, what is the one thing that you're going to start doing to get better? And you may need to put this in your notes because I'm going to go a little quick on the back end. But it's not about doing a bunch of things. It's about doing one thing and doing that one thing really, really, really good and understanding there's a domino effect. What do you mean, Chris, by a domino effect? Check out this quick video.
Everybody knows about playing dominoes, but what you may not know is that a domino can knock over another domino, which is about 1.5 times larger. So what I have here is a chain of dominoes. Each one is 1.5 times larger than the previous one. And the smallest domino is about 5 millimeters high and 1 millimeter thick. And I will carefully place it. And there are 13 dominoes. And the largest domino, it weighs about 100 pounds and is more than 1 meter tall. Ready? Boom. That was 13 dominoes. If I had 29 dominoes, the last domino would be as tall as the Empire State Building.
Small beginning, folks. You got to start somewhere with this creating equitable spaces, but you got to be ready to make a huge impact. In the chat, last thing I promise you all, you probably like, he done said last thing a couple times. Where's the last one? In the chat, I want you to think about what is one thing you're going to start, stop, and continue. Pick one. Based upon this short time that we had together today, where we talked about the 5 keys to creating equitable mathematics classrooms. In the chat, don't do all 3. List one thing you're going to start. Just say start. This is something I'm going to start doing. Let's stop. This is something I'm going to stop doing. Let's continue. This is something I'm going to continue doing. And that's our last chat piece. What is something you're going to start doing? What is something you're going to stop doing? And what is something you're going to continue doing? I'll leave you with this. Each child matters. Not some children, not that child, not that child. Every single child matters. What are you doing to make sure every single child has a high quality mathematics educational experience? And it starts with using these keys to make sure you have an equitable classroom environment. This has been Dr. Christopher J. Childs with Open Up Resources, and I'm the Chief Academics, Equity, and Social Justice Officer. Anything I can do to help support you in your work, feel free to reach out.